Hello, and welcome to the Neurodivergent Ministries podcast. My name is Gierach. This is my very first recorded episode of this podcast. I would like to tell you about myself. I am neurodivergent myself. I have DCD dyspraxia, and I also have central auditory processing disorder, dyscalculia, and I also am dyslexic. And I have ADHD. So that is how I am neurodivergent myself. And that growing up, that I was in special education all my life. I noticed that I had learning difficulties in kindergarten. They started testing me, and so I started in special education when I was in kindergarten, and then kindergarten, first grade, I was in a special class for slower kids. So in the elementary school, I had a combination of mainstream classes, and then a percentage of it was special education classes. I had LD teachers, and I also had, when I was younger, occupational therapy and adapted phy-ed. And of course, I did not know that I had a developmental developmental coordination disorder, or dyspraxia, since the condition, I guess, now is one and the same according to the clinicians that have DCD's dyspraxia. And then my areas of difficulty was basic poor coordination. I had trouble writing, and it just showed up in school that I wasn't able to keep up with the other kids, especially in gym class. That when I was in first grade, that they said I was functioning at a level of a 4-year-old, or physically, because I was very skinny, underweight, and had all the basic symptoms of dyspraxia. So if you go look it up, that I had many of those traits. And the biggest problem going on in the elementary school is I never learned how to tie my shoes until third grade, because that was a stressful time. The gym teacher gave me hell about um, tying my shoes, and then I came back the following year and had the same gym teacher, and he asked me if I tied my shoes, and I lied to him. I said that I did when I really didn't, because I just took the shoelaces and tucked them into my shoes and then ran it, and then my shoes came apart. And then he's like, well, nobody's gonna help you tie your shoes. Or he said that to me in front of the entire class. And I went home in tears and told my mother what happened. And then she called the school. And I got pulled out of regular gym class for the remainder of the year. So I had occupational therapy and adaptive ed instead of regular gym class. So that was a traumatizing time in elementary school. And then another time was in second grade with the music teacher. I couldn't keep up with the class with finding the page numbers in the music book. And then he would keep yelling at me. And then I excuse me, I sneezed. Or back to the music teacher. The music teacher, as I said, it gave me help for not finding the page numbers fast enough. And then he yelled at me in front of the class and kept me after class. I told him that I needed to get going. And he's like, you don't tell adults what to do. And then about a year or so later, he died of a stroke. I was secretly happy that he died because I didn't want to deal with him anymore. And also in second grade, this was before the gym teacher incident, I had trouble with math. I couldn't keep up with the other students when the teacher would play the record player with math problems. And I could never figure it out, so I just wrote down any number to make it look like I was keeping up with the rest of the class. But I was just writing down any old number. And that was elementary school. Then the middle school, I had more of the same. But there was a defining moment, kind of like where it comes into the spiritual aspect of it. The the part of scripture that talks about do unto others as you would have them do unto you. that in 6th grade, I also was in regular mainstream class, had a homeroom teacher, and then a percentage of the day I would go down the hall to the special education room. And then I one day came back, heading back to the regular classroom, walking down the hall, and I could hear them whispering, "Here he comes, here he come." And then I'm walking towards the classroom, and then these girls were out in the hall, and they're unusually nice to me because prior to that they were not very nice to me, giving me crap about me not being able to um, remember my locker accommodation. And I had to keep asking the teacher for it. Well, anyways, I was coming back that day. I come into the classroom and sit down and look at the blackboard. And then it had the words, the golden rule, uh, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, written across the blackboard. And when I was in the room, everybody was being unusually nice to me. So eventually I put two and two together and I found out while I was gone that day earlier, someone said something nasty about me, and the teacher heard it, and she gave them a lecture. She must have really yelled at them because, and that's where that I found out from another girl that someone said something nasty about me, and the teacher heard it, and she really let him have it. And then, so the remainder of that school year, the teacher and or everyone was extra extra nice to me. So that's was a pivotal thing, having uh, learning about the golden rule, and I don't know what part of scripture that's in. I would have to look that up because I am not uh, well versed in Bible verses. So this is that goes with the name of this podcast. This thing I started called the Neurodivergent Ministry, and so I am not like a trained priest or minister. I've never ran a church or anything. The only thing I really did is, I guess, technically that, or I'm considered an ordained minister, is because I registered with the Universal Life Church. And that's basically to be ordained in order to meet the legal requirements to marry someone. And at first I thought it was like a joke, but I guess it is legal because then I even checked with the county clerk. So if I wanted to, so I'm technically an ordained minister, with a universal life church that I could perform marriage. I could at least do it in my local county. So then I technically have the title of Reverend and am ordained, considered an ordained minister, but I did not go through the extensive training that ministers go through. Like going to, I don't have a theology training or going to like a seminary like a Catholic priest would go through all that training. So to be clear, I do not have the huge theological training that a minister or a priest would have. But this channel is more towards talking about spirituality, spirituality and how people who have disabilities like I do, that's why I'm talking slow, and plus I did not prepare any script, so I'm saying this off the seat of my pants as this comes into my head. I kind of thought about what I was going to say, but I don't have an outline or script. And also, I have delays, like speech delays, and I forgot what it's called. It's a muscle delay. It's like a neurological or neuromuscular delay. So I do things slower. So I probably speak slower, even though I wasn't diagnosed with apraxia of speech. But I did go to speech therapy around the first grade. So my disability is more that I have slow processing speed, and then that affects the speed of how I perform things. And reading comprehension, and like question and answer, since I have central auditory processing disorder, that I would need time if I was given a question to think about it for a while, since I have slow processing speed, and be able to come up with an answer. Not like a presidential debater, a debate where a public speaker can answer questions very quickly and be able to carry a train of thought and keep on talking. And speak quickly. So I gotta speak slowly, and because of this is my processing speed. And it'd be too much work for me to sit there and write a script word for word. So when I do these recordings, it's gonna be off the seat of my pants, like this. or that's the style I have to do it, because to do it like the neurotypical people, if I had to prepare, it would take me forever and I would never get anything done. So that's why I'm talking like this. Let's see. So, to go over things, I introduced myself that this is the Neurodivergent Ministry, and I'm talking about spirituality and spirit and how it affects people who are neurodivergent and people who have disabilities and conditions similar to mine, and how that affects your daily life, because it affects my life. I'm sure if you are, or whoever's listening to this is who is neurodivergent, which has a condition, can relate that at times it can make your life more difficult, or you can look at it positively as a gift. But neurodivergent people also have skills that normal people don't. I'm still figuring out mine, but or neurodivergent people have other good qualities, like probably more patience, more understanding, more empathy, and probably is more easygoing, and we see the world probably differently than a neurotypical person. So that's why I did a internet search, and come to find out that there I did not find anything similar to this. There might be something where someone who is has a ministry or like a podcast and is doing things like I'm trying to do it now. That this is kind of something more new and unique. And now I lost my train of thought. That it'd be cool to do a podcast like this. And there's probably other people out there who can relate to what I'm doing and why things are going like this, or I'm trying to say have the same challenges of performing this as I would as someone who has neurological issues. So, that this is the first broadcast, I'll probably try to be more prepared. I'm not going to set a schedule of uploading this, but I'll probably write down topics to talk about so that I have a better train of thought and be somewhat prepared. But it's not going to be polished like other YouTubers or other podcasters because it's just me and my computer, the microphone. That I got a digital microphone plugged in using software that will convert this into a file. Then I'm going to take this and upload it to YouTube so you all can listen to it. I also have created a Facebook page, a Facebook group. It's a private Facebook group. So if you would like to join it, you can. I'm going to post it in the description of this podcast so that if you come across this, you can communicate with me and others. And today is April 1st, 2024, as I'm recording this. So it's April Fool's Day, the first day of April, and it's spring. So I thought this would be at the beginning of a month to begin this. And yesterday I created the Facebook page and then went to kind of generated a logo for this ministry with the tree and kind of the book under it. So the tree kind of represents growth and the color green, like something new sprouting up and growing. So that's the logo I chose. And then I set up the Facebook page. And I also created a website. And that's basically I'll put a link to that in the description. But it's HTTPS with a colon and the 2 forward slashes divergentministry.com. So that's the URL, but I'll post it into this description. Or as we speak, I'm still developing. It's a very simple one-page website. It's basically directing. I'll have my email there, and I'll have a link to the Facebook page, and I'll put in the link to the YouTube page. So then those 3 places will be interconnected, and it'll help with search engine optimization so that this will appear on the internet and the search engines. Since the Neurodivergent ministry is kind of a new thing, I'll have to search around the internet and see if anyone else has done anything similar, but so far I didn't find it yet. But I'm sure there's many neurodivergent people out there that too will find us and that I'll upload and talk about a certain topic. Maybe someday connect with other people on here as like a podcast. But the main part would be, or interacting with you would be the Facebook private group. So like-minded people can come together. And also to keep control of it so there's no haters or, because I'm sure there's someone who would want to harass us. So I'll be able to us to have a safe place to communicate. And then it'll filter out the troublemakers. Because if anyone who does anything, leaves mean comments or anything, they'll just be blocked and I'll delete their comments, and there'll be a barrier around it so they can't come in and keep harassing us. That I'll block them. So it should hopefully be a nice, safe place. And for the people who enjoy this, and then if there's people, if they just want to leave a nasty comment, that this place is not for you and you can just move on down the road and go in peace, walk in peace, and find something else to do. Well, thank you for listening to me for this first podcast. I think I'm going to end it here because I cannot think of anything else to say. So now I can start the workflow process of processing this audio, putting it into a file that can be uploaded to YouTube. And you'll be hearing me now on the internet. So thank you very much for listening. I'm going to end this podcast, and I'll see you next time.